So now let's add notes to notebook. So if you go to our notebook app, when you try to go to home page without logging in, you should it should redirect us to login page. Okay, so now if you log in with your credentials, you should go to this home page. So here the logged in user's name here, and if you go to our notebooks, it's working, and new notebook, it direct us to create form, new one, it should create, yeah, like this. So now if we want to add some notes to this notebook, so by clicking this link should take us to the notebooks index page. Okay, sorry, notes index page. So at this moment it is taking us nowhere. Okay, so now let's do that. So now go to Sublime and go to this notebook index page where this all books are showing up. So notebook index. So here this is notebook name. So we want to make this notebook name as a link which should take us to notes related to these notebooks. Okay, so here here is link. Let's make that link. So here we are going to use the route names. Okay, so it should take us to route. So notebooks dot show. Okay, so let's create the route with this name. So go to web.php. So here, so we have to create that route. So I will just copy and paste this route, and it should take us to notebook with ID of notebook. Okay, so just make this route. Okay, so it should take you to show method. Okay, so here these two routes are same, so we'll just edit this route and make this as edit. Okay, so this will make more sense, and we will give it name as notebooks.show. Okay, also let's give it name as notebooks.edit. Okay, so now let's get back to index dot. So here is the that show route which is pointing us to this route. Okay, and this method in route. Next we will we have make this edit link like this. Okay, so let's change this and make with route name. So we'll talk about the resource full route, okay, in a moment. For now let's just let's create that show method in our notebooks controller. Okay, so notebooks controller, here it is. Let's just create the show method below this create. Okay, so we will take ID. Okay, ID of notebook, and here we want to show the notebooks related to this node. Okay, so before doing that we have to create the table and class related to nodes in the notebook. Okay, so let's just create the nodes table. Okay, so go to terminal. So note. Okay, remember this is the name of model. So we should create the table with nodes. Okay, name nodes. So you can create migration separately, and this quick and easy way, faster way is to just put -m. That will create model as well as migration also. Okay, artisan is spelling wrong, just artisan. Okay, so that should create model and migration. Okay, look, this created both. Now let's go to that nodes model that is inside here, nodes, and we will define the fillable field, okay, which protected. So we're gonna have one field for name of nodes, okay. Well, let's give it title, okay, title of nodes, and body, okay. So these two fields will be there. Let's create these two fields in migration file also, okay. So database migrations and search for create nodes table, okay. So here let's add those two fields. So that's gonna be string, and that's title. Next will be text, since the body gonna be more than 255 characters. So body, and so these two fields are done in migration files. So next we have to migrate these in order to create the table. So let's just do that. PHP artisan migrate should create that table, okay. So that table is created, you can check it out here. So here it is, nodes table with title and body field, okay. Next we will define the relationship between nodes and notebooks, okay. So let's define that. This node belong to notebook. Let's just lowercase notebook, not plural, because nodes will belong to certain notebook, okay, single notebook. So this belongs to, so this is the way to define relationship. So notebook class, okay. So let's check, and this is going to write it, yeah, this will take us to notebooks, okay. So here also we have to define relationship. This notebook has many nodes, okay. Nodes. So this has many node, okay. So yeah, so our relationship is now defined. Next we will work in controller. First we are defining the show route to show the nodes, okay, in our notebooks controller, not in nodes controller, because that is related to notebooks, okay. So now let's just do that. So first inside notebooks controller, in show method, first we have to access the notebook, okay. Then we can access the nodes related to that notebook. So we use this id to find that notebook, okay. So let's define variable called notebook and notebook. So this so we use find method to get this notebook with this id, okay. So this will find the notebook with this id. Also you can do here find or fail. So what is this different from find method is it will fail if not find, it will give us exception, okay. Find will not give us exception, okay. So now we get the notebook. Now we can access the nodes related to this notebook. You know how, okay, just use arrow and nodes. So this is how we access the notebooks related to that nodes. So we can define it in variable nodes. So next, so now we have nodes related to their notebooks. Now this should redirect us to some page, okay, where we can see our nodes. Okay, so return redirect, so it should redirect us to which page? So actually it should create the view, okay, where we can see the nodes. So view called nodes dot index. Okay, so we'll be creating this view and we pass this data into this view. So how do we do that? We can do that using compact and name of nodes. Notice I didn't use this $sign. Okay, this is how compact works. Okay, just use the name of. So now we are passing these nodes to this view. So let's create that view inside resources. So resources, and we'll go inside views. We already have notebooks and notes. Okay, notes folder. Inside this notes folder we have to create this index. Okay, so let's do that. New file, save it as index.blade.php. so why not just copy the index of these notebooks and just modify some. Wait, we got HTML template, right? So we can take help of that. So inside I provided this link to HTML template. Okay, if you haven't downloaded it, so this is the notes. Okay, this HTML template we take help of this to create our. So open that up in Sublime and we will just copy, because you already know this navbar is already inside our base layout. Okay, so we extend that. We only need these main components in of this. Okay, so let's collapse that. So we'll take everything from main to container. Okay, so copy that and close this out and go to this index.blade. Here first we'll extends that base layout. Okay, layouts.base. Next we'll define the section called content. Okay, and section. So inside here all our HTML template will go. Okay, which we copied from our template file. So here is nodes. Okay, so we only need one node. Okay, you already know we can loop through them to get as many as one. So I will delete this nodes too because we only need one. So here inside this I will use for each loop @for each. So nodes as node, remember this node we are passing from this controller to this view. Okay, so now let's go back to this nodes index, and here nodes as node, and let's close this out and for each. So here now we have access to this variable. We can make this dynamic. So note title. Okay, so we don't need to use this dummy text. We can use our data from our database body. So this is our title and body. Okay, so if we refresh, that should show us nothing because we are not we have no node in our database. Let's just check that out. So this is not the one. So refresh that. So notebooks.show. Okay, we have to pass id. Okay, required parameter. So let me tell you what happened here. So notebook dot show is requiring one parameter in id. Okay, so in our notebooks index we are not passing any parameter with that. So here comma and pass the notebook id. Okay, so that can find, that can use the parameter to show us the nodes. Okay, so now if we refresh that, okay, this is dummy link. Let's go back to our home. Here our notebooks. All right, so edit also, we fixed one thing but we get another error. So inside edit, here also we have to pass the same thing, this notebook id, because these two routes are taking up a parameter. So now that should fix the problem. Yeah, so now if we go click here, this should point us to notebook. So it says this column not found. Okay, so let me teach you how to see the error and debug it. So it is saying that column not found, the column called this notebook id inside this notes table. Okay, so this is what it is trying to say. So while defining relation, okay, this has many, or we define relationship in our notebook here. Okay, so as you already know that we need the id inside notes table, notebook id inside notes table. Okay, so we didn't created that. So let's go to migrations and create notes table. Here we need the notebook id. Okay, so let's just create that integer. So notebook id to identify the notebook, okay, related to these nodes. So after editing, we need to refresh our database. Okay, php artisan make migration, wait, not that, php artisan migrate refresh. Okay, yeah, so now let's take a look at this. And notes, inside notes, yeah, now we have notebook id. Okay, so now if we refresh that, it is asking us to log in. Okay, so when we refresh, our all data will be gone. Okay, so here, so you need to register again. And now if you try to go to this, want to see the notes related to this notebook, you click here and you get this error. Okay, so what this error is saying is there is undefined variable called notebook in this view inside this notes index. So let's fix that. So I'm inside that. Okay, notes index. So what's problem is when you copied that HTML template from that folder I provided you, so when you copied that, this comes along with that. Okay, so let's just delete that or replace that with hashtag. So now if you reload, you should get this page. Okay, so now that's the working, that's how you debug the errors. Okay, so now we are seeing the nodes related to notebook number 1. So now next we will create the new nodes. Okay, so if we click here, we should it should point us to the new nodes form. Okay, where we can create a new node. So let's do that next. So now let's go to our notes controller. Now we are done with notebooks controller. Okay, so let's go to notes controller. Okay, we haven't created our notes controller yet. Let's create that. So let me tell you one thing. Notebook controller. So here we created index, create, okay, so store and edit, delete, update, delete, everything. Okay, so these are standard things. So there is a shorthand method to create these by default. Okay, so that is where we use the resource controller. Okay, here let's create the new controller for nodes. Okay, so PHP artisan make controller. So this will just create controller without any method. So if we add the flag called resource, that should create all the scaffolding. So this is saying us missing name, we haven't given name, so let's keep the name. So nodes controller. Okay, so now that controller is created. Let's go back to http controller, and here it is, nodes controller. See, these methods are there by default. Okay, so now let's go to web.php. Here we defined all of these routes. Okay, so there is shorthand, okay, to create same number of routes or similar routes with names like this using this. Okay, so route, resource and nodes, and name of controller, so nodes controllers. So this one line of code will create all of similar route with name nodes in place of notebooks also. Okay, yeah, so you can also make this short by using same thing. Okay, let me comment that out, and let's duplicate this and just put notebooks. So if you see the final project's code, okay, you should see that okay, like these I've defined resources. Okay, so if you are wondering what is that, this is the route which will create all the related routes like this. Okay, yeah, so also we don't need this index also. Okay, yeah, so now if you check what routes are available to us, so let me clear this out, let me make this a little bit bigger. So now if you type PHP artisan route list, yeah, here are, so these are the routes related to notebooks that is created by that resource route. These are the routes related with nodes. Okay, so you can take a look here, these are the name of route. Okay, so now if you go to our app, that should work fine. Yeah, so there is slight, okay, we are getting this because here is error, so it's not nodes, notebook books controller. Okay, yeah, notebooks controller. So now that should do the fine. Yeah, here it is. So now everything is doing fine. Next we'll create the new node. So here inside nodes index, here is new node and it is pointing nowhere. Now let's make this point to create route nodes dot create. Okay, nodes dot create, so it should point us to create form. So let's define that controller in nodes. So control P and nodes controller, so create node. Actually this create method is not enough to create the nodes, because here we will need the notebook ID as well as notes ID. Okay, so we'll create the new route called create note. So we'll create our custom route for creating notes, and we have to pass two things: notebook ID. Yeah, we have to pass notebook ID with it. Okay, so here, so last time we deleted that. Okay, now we are creating that. So this should point us to this route with ID of notebook, in which we want to create our notes. Okay, so so now we don't have this variable available here. Okay, so we have to make this notebook variable available here. So remember where this index view is coming from: notes index here inside notebooks controller. So it is making this view, okay, and passing that route passing that variable notes. Okay, so another thing, we should also pass that notes variable, so that notebook variable, books, not book. So we are passing these two variable. Now these variables are available inside this index. Okay, here it is. So here now they are available, and we can use them to create our new note. Okay, so previously it was telling us it is error, this is not available. Okay, but now it is available. So now we have to create this create note, okay, route in our web.php. So let's create that new route that will be get. Okay, so notes slash ID of note and create. So I think that looks good. Yeah, let's just make this create note so that it doesn't get confused with other these routes. So here will be the ID placeholder. Okay, so you can give whatever name, notebook ID or whatever, just to make you know what this is. Okay, so now that should point to controller. Which controller? Notes controller. Yeah, notes controller. Yeah, that should do. So at the rate, we'll create same method. Okay, create note. So why not let's give it name. So let's give this route name called create note, so that it will be easier for us to reference this. Okay, because this is long route. Okay, so yeah, so now we got this route called create note. Yeah, so here, so now the name of route is just create note. We don't need this. You can change the name of route to notes.create note if you want. So let's just do that, notes.create note. Yeah, so now this route requires one parameter, which we are passing here. Okay, now that should do fine. Now let's define this method, create note method inside notes controller. So go to there, and I will just create down there. So create note, so we'll pass the notebook ID. So now first, okay, so now the work of this is to take us to the create form with this ID, okay, which we can use there to submit our data to update control store controller. Okay, so return, so this method should return us view called notes.create. okay. So with id, so we'll pass that with id, which id, notebook id. Yeah, so this is just taking us to this view, which we will create now just with this id. Okay, so here let's create new file, create.play.php. so same thing, let's just copy that from here, notebooks create. We'll copy everything and we'll paste it here. Create notes, csr feel good, and so here this should submit its data to notes.store. okay, so this, sorry, route also, why I am forgetting that. Yeah, so now this should submit data to store method in nodes, so that is here store. Okay, here, so let's get back to this create form. Here this is fine, form name, notebook name. Yeah, just I'll just say not notebook, notes title. Okay, so we don't have name, so we'll just change it to title, because in our database there is title, not name. This is for notebook. Also we will create another this field for our body, so I will duplicate that, and for notes, note body, just make it note, not notes. So input, yeah, note body. So actually let's just make this text area. First change this body and body. For now just leave that. So now our form is ready. Let's test this. Hope everything is fine. Reload that. So nodes dot create node not defined, it says. Let's get back to web.php where we define that thing. Okay, create, here is typo, every time I do that mistake. Okay, now if we go to new node, yeah, that is pointing us to that new node. So now let's just submit that data to this. Okay, now let's write that logic inside our nodes controller. So let me close all the tabs, just okay. So nodes controller, so inside the here store we'll write that logic. First we have to find that notebook, and then we have to pass that to database. Okay, so first we will get all the data here. So input data. Okay, so request all. So this will get, this variable contains all the data from this form, create form. Okay, all the data we input here. Okay, title and body. After getting that data we will create the new node. So node create, which we want to create node with this input data. Okay, so now this will create the node. Also you might be wondering how we create, how we associate this node with particular notebook. So to do that, let's get back to create.blade.php inside these nodes. Okay, so here this is the one data. Let me just make it look nicer. So this is one data. Okay, yeah, this is one field. So we should add another field, okay, with that id of that notebook. So let me show you what I'm trying to say. So we have created this hidden input field. Okay, this is passing the value of the notebook, okay, notebook id into this field. That's why that is how we know with which notebook this note is associated with. Okay, so now let's get back to notebook controller in store method here. So now we created notebook. Now it should redirect us to that notes index page. So return redirect, so it should redirect us to a named route with name notebooks.index. So here is one thing: if you want to redirect them back to just where you came from, you can just do that. Okay, so it should redirect us to the create form. So we'll make that in a bit. So let's just test this out. So here we are at create form. So let's start from beginning. So this is the home page. We are logged in as web dev. If we go to our notebook, this I want to create notes inside this notebook. So I click here, and if I click new note, let's just make new note in database, blah blah blah. Okay, some dummy content. Yeah, so it is saying us this controller node not found. So let's just check what is the problem. So problem is we are using node here. We should specify it here, as you already know. So use app node. Okay, now it should do fine, and we are getting this error: notebook field doesn't have default value. So what is the problem here is, so go to notes, app node. Okay, here define that field in fillable. So notebook id. So if that is not fillable, that will not get inserted in database. So now if you so now that should created that notebook. You can check that out here. New notebook, new database. So it contains 2 nodes. Okay, so I created 2 nodes, that's why it is showing 2. Okay, yeah, so let's make a slight modification in nodes controller here. We don't want to redirect us, we don't want this method to redirect us back. Rather, we want this method to redirect to notebook show page. Okay, so where we can see our notes. Okay, so it should redirect us to redirect. So route, which route? Notebooks.show, I think. So we want to pass the data because that show method takes data compact notebook id. So here we have to pass that, define that notebook id variable. So that notebook id is inside our request. Okay, notebook id. So remember, if we see inside create, here it is with name. That's how we access the value of this field, like so. Okay, here. So we are passing that value here. So now let's create another node. So new node, final destination. Ha. Yeah, here is new node. Okay, so now it is working. So next let's update the node or edit the nodes. Okay, so let's first go to index here. Yeah, so let's, where is edit link? Yeah, here is edit link. So let it point to right direction. So here route, which route? Node. So nodes dot edit. Okay, so if you are having hard time remembering these, you can take help of here. Okay, you can type just PHP artisan route list and see which route are available. So nodes dot edit is available, so it is pointing us to this route in this method. Okay, edit method in nodes controller. So we will go there, nodes controller, edit. So this should take us to return view nodes dot edit. So this should take us to nodes edit page. So first we need to find the nodes which we are editing. So node find node with this ID. Okay, find node with this ID, and then we'll pass that node into there. Okay, so now let's create that edit view. So new file, save it as edit.play.php. so we'll copy this edit form from our notebooks. Control A, Control C. Here we'll paste that, same thing, edit node. Okay, so we are submitting that to our new route. Let's just delete that, and so route called nodes dot where update. So if you are confused, you can take a look here. Yeah, update. So this route requires parameter called ID of node ID. Yeah, so remember this node ID is getting passed here. So node is here. Okay, we are passing this node there, so we can access its ID like so. Okay, so we are defining CSRF field. We are also defining the method. Okay, put also. So not notebook, note. So we can copy this input field same as create. Okay, so just copy from here to all the way to this form. Okay, yeah, copy this up to input. So below there up to input, we'll replace that with that. Okay, since the field will be same, we can do like so. Yeah, so here we don't need that. Okay, because we are not altering this. Okay, so if you want to add that feature, you can add this. Okay, although this will not make any difference, you can leave that or just comment that out. So now this should take you Yeah, that should do fine. So let's go to the update method where this data is getting posted. So same thing, input data like so. Here we are accessing that all the input data. Next, we want to find the node which we are editing. So node find node with this ID, node. So we are finding that node and we will update that node like this. Update update with all the input data. Okay, so after updating, after this get updated, so it should point to that same route, return redirect route. Which route? Same as here where we redirect after doing our notebooks also. So you can copy these also. Okay, yeah, just leave that uncommented like so. Okay, actually let's just leave that commented. And why is that update? Yeah, here it is. So here we'll do notebooks dot show, and we want to pass the data with ID notebook ID. So the notebook ID will be always the same in there. Okay, so doing this or doing that is same. Okay, so this, whether to pass that or this, will do same thing. Yeah, now that should point us to there. Let's just check that out, whether that is working or not. Refresh that. So route nodes dot edit. So where is that edit? Yeah, we forgot to save that. Just save that. Okay, view nodes index. Where is edit? Yeah, here is. So we have to pass the ID of notebook, node ID. Yeah, so edit, here is edit node. Okay, so let's just go back. Okay, so we are editing this new node in database. Okay, remember. So let's see, updated, new updated node body. So missing parameters. So okay, so here, where is that? Notebooks dot show. Actually we can pass it like directly like this. Okay, so notebook dot show, because this route requires parameter. Okay, not with. Just delete that in nodes controller. So now that should do fine. Yeah, update it. Okay, so now our update feature is working fine. Now let's delete these nodes. So we will delete. So let's go to index. Here this is edit, so here is delete. So I've just created form for you. Okay, since delete require form, so it should point us to route called nodes nodes dot destroy. So it requires parameter called node id. Okay, it should know which node to delete. So now it is submitting its value. Method post, so we have to specify the field proper method. Okay, so method field is delete. So now that's it. So let's go to nodes controller. Here destroy. First we have to find the node, or you can destroy like this. So node destroy with id. So it should redirect us to return back. Okay, so let's reload that. Let's delete this final destination. Okay, we have to pass token also. Here, where is that token in our index? So here are two extra curly braces. Also we have to pass our token. Okay, csrf token. So csrf field. Now that should work. Continue. Why not just reload that? Go to first page, notebooks, new database. We want to delete this. Yeah, now that's gone. That's also gone. So now we are deleting notebooks. Okay, so this is, so now next we will make our new view where we see our new this note. Okay, so if we click this, we should see the whole page with note title and notes inside there. So let's do that. So here note title, we have to we want this to take us to our that page where we will show our notes. Okay, full view. So route notes dot show. Okay, so we will want to pass id, note id. Okay, with it. So now this is already there. Okay, show method here. So first we'll find that note. So note, which note? No, sorry, find with id this, which we passed there. Next take us to that view. Which view? Notes dot show. Yeah, with, you can use compact or with, same thing, compact note. So one brace is here. Yeah, so let's create that show view here. New file, save it, show.play.php. so here is our show view. So here is our show view. So we will extend that, extends layouts.base. Also we will define section called content and section. So here we'll use container. So inside this container we will have one row. Inside this row we'll define s3 okay, with class display, so display 3. So this is the bootstrap 4 class that's will make that look nicer. So here we'll show node title. Next, here inside paragraph we will show node body. Okay, so we are passing that node here we are using. So now let's go back to here and refresh, and after we click here that should update it with node. Okay, so you can make that look nicer. Okay, so let's add new node, ts2 lorem ipsum. So no node created, we want to see node. So now that's working. So if you want to make all css changes, make it look nicer, you can contribute that in GitHub. Okay, so link is there. So this is our basic notebook app. Okay, so there are more features to add. So now our notebook app is almost done. Okay, so please subscribe. So if you want another series, I will be posting more and more series, okay, where I will be building real apps, okay, like so. So if you don't want to miss any videos, please subscribe. Okay, see you next. Bye.